Thank you all so much for coming out this afternoon. I really wondered on this holiday who'd be getting out today, but I'm glad you were able to come and see what's going on here at the History Center. This is part of our lecture series that we do. After we put up an exhibit, we have lectures every other Sunday afternoon. So this is part of that lecture series. I hope you will take time. I know it's a little tricky right now to see the posters that are up, but we have posters for all the major festivals that are in town. One of our board members last year said, wouldn't it be fun, to really highlight all of these festivals? It's such an important part of what goes on here in Rockport. And one of the things we really wanted to show about this too is how many volunteers it takes to run all these programs, because as you well know, I know a lot of you have volunteered for as well, and know how many people are out there making all this happen. So we're really happy to have two of the major festivals featured this afternoon. And first of all, we'll have the Art Festival. We have Louis Perrone with us this afternoon, who I think everybody in the audience already knows. He's, I believe, I heard recently this is your 9th year.
Yeah.
Here, so congratulations. 10th year, okay.
Into my 10th, yeah.
Okay, so you're on.
Thank you, Pam.
Oh, you bet.
Such a pleasure to be here this Sunday afternoon inside of this beautiful building and seeing all these wonderful exhibits that the History Center put on. Please support the History Center as well as you support the Rockport Center for the Arts. So I was asked to make a presentation today about the history of the Rockport Art Fest. So we affectionately call it Rockport Art Fest. And power it out.
There you go.
And that is our logo, that brand that we developed in 2020 to promote the festival. Before that, I had never really had a brand, but we felt that it's, after 50 some years of being in existence, that branding the festival was an important thing to do. So in 2021, our graphic designer created this brand for the art festival. Next slide. Come on, Phil.
So for creating a brand, is that important for like trademarking?
Yes, actually, this mark is in the middle of being trademarked right now. Our attorneys are trademarking the Art Center brand, the Rock brand, the Art Festival, and the Film Festival. And I think it's an important thing. Well, and see, this is exactly what I did not want to happen, but it did happen. So I want to start with some timelines, and I'll just go over it because obviously you're not going to be able to read the third one. So the Rockport Art Association was formed in 1969 with the Articles of Incorporation being signed on May 19th of that year, and the Certificate of Incorporation was issued to us by the state of Texas on May the 20th of the same year. So just a few days ago, the Rockport Center for the Arts celebrated its 55th year in existence. The articles were signed by, see if you know these names, Shirley Farley, E.N. Harper, and C.F. Johnson. I only know one name on there. Does anybody else know who E.N. Harper is? Does anybody know who C.F. Johnson is?
I remember the Harpers.
You do?
I remember his wife more than,
Yeah.
his name is Ed. Was his Ed? Yes. He was a realtor.
Okay. And that's how it shows in the Articles of Incorporation. It just has their initials. The only ones who has her name spelled out is Shirley. Currently in its 56th edition, we're getting ready to host that event on July 6th and 7th coming up. The first Rockport Art Festival took place on 4th of July weekend in 1968 before the organization was incorporated and it functioned as an art guild. So there was an art festival before the Rockport Art Association was formed, and that was the year 1968. Next slide. I bet Sarah and Q Morrison know where that is. Initially, the art festival in the 1970s was held in various locations in Rockport and Fulton, including Harbor Oaks, that's where that is, right there. The Racket Club in downtown Rockport at one instance. Next slide. Look at this beautiful image of the art festival in 1973. You can see some of the things that you might recognize are still in existence in our community. But several artists, among them Steve Russell, who has spoken here before, founded the art festival to raise funds for a permanent facility so that artists could display their work. So just remember that that was the initial purpose of the art festival, and when we come back to the end of my presentation, I'm going to tie that all together. Next slide, Phil. I'd like to talk a little bit about the importance that downtown Rockport plays, not only in the art festival, but the arts in general. In 1978, Estelle Starr purchased the Sorensen building, which became her eponymous gallery, paving the way for other art establishments to congregate along Austin Street. Just humor me, I'm going to tie all of this together. There's a reason this slide is here, but you're not going to know until the end. Timeline. In the mid-1970s, the art festival moved to its present location, a 4-acre esplanade known as the Aransas County Navigation District Festival Grounds. The art festival, now a tourism and major economic development driver, continues to prove that you cannot build a tourism destination without the arts. Every major city in America that is a destination for tourists and for economic development has to have an art component. And I think our city does it really, really well. And that is what the art festival looks like these days. It doesn't show that the thermometer is 108. I'll let you feel that when you go on July the 6th. More timeline, the art festival turned from an invitational to a juried event in the early 1980s under Mary Lucille Jackson's and Anita Diebel's tenure. Anita is here with us. Winners in Best in Show and Best in Category started being invited to participate automatically the next year. So they would just get a buy on their invitation. We still do that today, but they just get a buy on their application fees, and now they are still being juried whether they won last year or did not. This increased the prestige of the art festival and its notoriety. Today, 56 years later, it remains a sought-after commercial activity for working artists because of the sales they are able to generate here in Rockport. And as many of you know, in 2020, this was the promotion for the art festival that year. See how we did not have a brand in 2020? So this was actually a digital billboard ad that ran all over the state of Texas, and before the Rockport Art Fest brand was initiated in 2021. And due to the pandemic, we canceled the event that year. Next slide. Who remembers this pretty face right here? No? Lynn?
I can see
That's not ringing a bell? Her name's right here? Nancy Cooper. She's one of my predecessors. So, more timeline things. Until 1993, the Art Festival was the primary source of support for the organization's annual budget. In 1993, the first art auction gala was added, also known as the Patron Party. The auction created a second revenue stream that grew to become important. And up until the new buildings were built, the Art Festival and the Art Auction Gala comprised about 40% of our annual operating budget. But since we have opened the new facilities, we rely more on contribution income. Notwithstanding, the Art Festival and the Art Auction Gala are still a very important part of our operating budget. And that right there is Nancy Cooper holding the first official poster for the Rockport Art Festival. And here's the original painting done by Harold Phoenix. He is deceased. He was an engineer for Conoco, that later merged with Exxon. And then later on, he was promoted to illustrator for the corporation. So he went all over the world illustrating some of the industrial, rigs that you see in oil and gas pipelines and so forth. And that's Nancy Cooper right there. Nancy Cooper now lives in Dallas, Texas, and I talked to her for a long time in preparation for this presentation because I wondered if she remembered who bought the original piece, because we actually own it, and it's on our first floor of our 2-story building right above the water fountain. So if you want to see the original Harold Phoenix, we still have it. And I wondered if she remembered who bid and who won, and she said, I don't remember, but they paid a lot of money. Nancy Cooper. So with the advent of the art auction gala came the advent of the poster artist tradition, which we now, in the last 3 years, have been calling a master artist tradition. So the first Rockport Art Festival was hosted in '69 and has grown to become one of the most respected and longest running juried art festivals in the United States. Every year since 1993, a diverse committee of artists, art patrons, gathers to select one master artist to create the official poster for the annual Rockport Art Festival. I think Lisa Baer Frederick, who is a master artist herself, sits on that committee. I know that several of you here in this room might have sat on that committee before. To create the official poster, and the first one, as I already told you, was Harold Phoenix. This select group of chosen artists is known for their achievement in the arts, number one, for their engagement and contributions to the Rockport Center for the Arts, two, and for their ability to capture a coastal aesthetic recognized across the United States as uniquely Rockport's. And I think you will see in future slides where we actually look at the posters I brought, and there's some around here in this room, you'll see what I mean by the coastal aesthetic that is uniquely to Arcos. In 2023, Rockport Center for the Arts moved from creating posters and giclées to fine art prints in collaboration with Hare and Hound Press in San Antonio, Texas, which has an exhibition agreement with Art Pace San Antonio. Art Pace is the genesis of Art Pace is Linda Pace. She owned Pace Bocani Foods. You might remember that. She was married to Kid Goldsberry. They sold that company for $1 billion. And from her, her estate, she created that organization. And their collaboration with Hare and the Hound goes back a long time. And now the Art Center is also collaborating with that institution to create fine art prints for artists, starting with Kent Olberg. So we created a folio of prints last year, and this year you're going to be amazed by the fine art print that we're creating for Patsy Lindemann. All right, so you might wonder, why did they stop printing posters? I know that it was a bit of a polemic in the beginning. People wanted to collect the poster and so on and so forth. The problem is that we were no longer selling the posters. We might sell 50, or we might sell 60 or 70, and the giclées also were not connecting to our audience. And perhaps we've done too good of a job teaching people how to acquire and collect original works of art. There are so many galleries in downtown Rockport where one can go and acquire original pieces of art. And I think as a director of the Art Center, and as artists that are in this group today, I think they probably would prefer that than to have people collect a poster that might fade over time. So that's why we stopped making posters, and then we moved in the direction of fine art prints, which will be limited edition. I invite you to come to Patsy Lindeman's show opening on Saturday, June 22nd. So that's the day we're going to release the fine art print, and we are doing a limited edition of 50. Okay. And here's all the names. Oh God, they got all screwed up. Anyway, start with Harold Phoenix. I'm just going to say the names out loud since you can't really read them. Steve Russell was 94. Harold Phoenix was 93. Al Barnes, 95. He's deceased. Herb Booth, 96. He's deceased. Jesus Bautista Moroles, 97. Deceased. Evelyn Atkinson. Ricardo Rivera, deceased, 1999. Kay Barnaby, 2000, recently passed. 2001, Jim Offerman. 2002, Flint Reed. 2003, Anita Diebel, she's right here. 2004, Tom Evans, he passed away in 2015. 2005, Carol Kudnick, that's her poster right there. 2006, Hal McCaskill, deceased last year. 2007, Al Barnes' wife, Nancy Barnes, a ceramicist. 2008, Teresa Justice, who now lives in Tucson, Arizona. 2009, Lisa Baer Frederick, raise your hand, she's in the back. 2010, Shirley Hughes Blackman, raise your hand, Shirley, she's right there. 2011, Betty Shamel. Who doesn't love Betty Shamel? She's the most huggable master artist that we have. 2012, Bruce Bitter from Austin. 13, Bonnie Lou Prouty. 14, the only photographer in this whole bunch, Pamela Keeman Fulcher. 15, Chance Yarbrough, a protege of the great Herb Booth. 16, Joey Blazek. 2017, Barb Robinson. 18, Debbie Stevens. 19, Angelique DeForest from Winway. 20, V. Vaughn, Virginia Vaughn. 21, Robin Hazard. 22, Jeffrey Neal McDaniel. 23, Ken Olberg, that was last year. This year it's Patsy Lindemoon. She's a graphic, she's an illustrator, so she uses graphite on paper on clayboard, sorry, to do her paintings. In 2025, you'll have to wait till July the 5th for that announcement. Look at these beautiful posters. I hope they didn't get all jumbled up. So you have the great Harold Phoenix, you have Al Barnes, Jesus Morales, you have Evelyn Atkinson, Angelique DeForest, and Debbie Stevens. So are you starting to see a coastal aesthetic that looks like our waters here on the Gulf Coast of Rockport? Next. And go back a little bit. And this is actually the art festival, and you can see the old blue Victorian house in the background. So let's go to the next one. That's Barb Robinson. That's V. Vaughn. We have Tom Evans, he did those beautiful flags, and then we have Nancy Barnes with that beautiful family. She got jammed up. Okay, and then we have Jeffrey Neal McDaniel. You have a marsh there. I guess I included Al Barnes twice. And I think you went backwards, didn't you? We have also Steve Russell, and then we have Shirley Blackman. Next. And then we have, this looks like a painting, but it's actually a photograph, and this is Pam Fulcher. And then our dear friend, Chance Yarbrough, who unfortunately is no longer painting. He was in 2015, the first year I was here. Yes, sir. All right. Look at this beautiful photograph by John Martell. So now I'm going to tie it all together. 55 years later, I write, "The sun still rises over the arts in Rockport." So just to tie all back together, the financial reasons why the art festival and why the art auction gala were important. It allowed the Art Center for all of those decades to accumulate, savings and to plan for the future and to set aside funds to buy its own land so that we could build a new art center. But we didn't have the money for the building when the hurricane came. That came through a capital campaign. But, the reason we got the EDA grant of $5 million to build our new campus was because we had the ability to raise money, we already had land, and then we already had an angel gift of $1 million for the loss of the O'Connor building in our capital campaign project. So this is to say that the art festival and the art auction gala were the most important fundraisers for the organization up until recent times. But the Art Center has changed, it has grown in different directions. We are not the little organization that we were, back in the 1990s and the early 2000s. We have really grown substantially. We have professionalized the operation. Our staff is now up to like 14 people. When I started here in 15, we had 5 employees. So if there's a lesson to be learned for other people who are involved with nonprofits, and I know there are several others, is plan for the future and save money for so that you can execute those plans. Next slide.
I have to mention a little historic piece that's coming up that just occurred to me while I was listening to the stories. We do have a marker, historic marker, that is going to go in to mark the Simon Michael Gallery, the one building that's still standing on King Street. So we've gotten approval for that, the text has been approved, and the marker is in the foundry. So look for that in the next year. really important connection there with the history and the art. And we're real pleased that that's coming about. So,
I'll get started while he's, trying to get that cast up here. And the Texas Maritime Museum was incorporated in the late 80s. And then about 1994, they started up having Wine Fest as one of their major fundraisers. Now, Louisa, kind of hinted about with the Art Fest, it was the major fundraiser for the Art Center for a number of years. Now, with the Art Center, they're about 25% fundraising, 25% donations, 25% and 25%. We're still working towards what he's already accomplished. So we do look at Luis and what he's accomplished and use that as a guide for our future development. The Art Fest is held on the grounds of the Texas Maritime. No, I'm sorry. The Wine Fest is held on the grounds of the Texas Maritime Museum, which is just happens to be right across the street from the fairgrounds where the Art Fest is held. And so if you've noticed that there's been some changes in the look on the building out there. We did receive a grant from the state to address infrastructure issues that have been neglected over about the last 20 years. And we have done some major upgrades at the Maritime Museum. So that's progressing well. We're about a year into that upgrade package and have another year to go on that. And then we're starting to look at expanding the Maritime Museum, probably double the exhibit space, and we've already hired in Levy Dykema architectural firm to go with that expansion. With the
Is it your second video?
yeah, there's just all kinds of videos and pictures in here. And some of these are from, like this one is up from the lighthouse walkway up there, which if you do get a chance to go visit the Maritime Museum, you'll see that it's all been fully renovated up there, new handrails, new guardrails, safety. We're improving a lot of the safety features in the museum. And just when you step inside, it smells real good in there now, as opposed to just a few years ago, it smelled kind of musty. So, Lee Construction Services is, they're very forward-thinking on how to maintain humidity control in buildings and just on some of the newer aspects of building construction. With the Art Fest, we always start off, sorry.
He didn't get home from it until about 1 o'clock in the night.
Louise is in here.
Yeah, Louise will understand someday. With the Wine Fest, we always start off with, when you do show up at the front desk or front gate, you get a cup, and the last couple of years we've offered 5 tickets. And tickets, we have wine bottles with a 1 ounce pour stopper on it, and flip it up, 1 ounce comes out, that's 1 ticket. And so people get a chance to sample a large number of wines. In the past, we've always used just Republic Distributing to supply the wine to the Wine Fest. And my goal is to make it all Texas wines. So Republic, when I first started getting involved, gave us about 3 or 4 Texas wines. Last year we had that up to maybe 10. This year we had about 30 different Texas wines. And but part of that is because we went up 2 different wineries in the Hill Country on a research project for the Maritime Museum. And talked to several of the different wineries, some of the people up there that would help schedule any type of event like this. We wanted to get them to come set up their own wineries at our facility, and we by the time we got into it, for them, it was way too short notice. But they did offer to send us their wine at wholesale price, in which we gladly accepted that, and that's why we had a large offering of Texas wines this year. So we had two separate, we always have 6 tables with the wines set up, and this year we had 2 tables devoted only to Texas wines. We were able to get 3 wineries to come in for this year, and they were so excited and so impressed about, how it went for them, that they were talking to other wineries, and next year I think we'll be able to reach our goal of having Texas wineries come in, set up, sell their own product, and the Texas Maritime Museum hopefully get out of the business of selling wine. So it'd be more like with the Art Fest, where you have the artists come in, they set up their booth, they sell their own product, and hopefully we get a little bit of share of that profit they make.
Good idea.
So just a number of pictures and videos. You can see there's always just a lot of people milling about up in there. If you do see the orange lifeboats in some of the pictures or videos, if you drive by there lately, you may notice they're gone. And we decided they were a definite safety hazard. We had all kinds of things living in them, and they just really posed a risk. So they are no longer at the Maritime Museum. And that actually was a big improvement for the Wine Fest, because it opened up an area where we could put picnic tables and the cocktail tables. People stand around, just visit with each other, listen to the bands. We always have bands playing, and we usually have 3 throughout the day, and then a highlighting band for the final show at night. And this year we had Uncle Lucius, and apparently that's just a huge popular band up in the San Antonio, Austin area. We had a lot of people that came down from San Antonio, Austin area to hear Uncle Lucius, and then they found out about the Wine Fest and really had a very good time. So overall, each year, I'm not sure which band this is.
Those are Spasmatics.
Spasmatics, that was our feature band last year, and they were extremely popular as well, and I even enjoyed their music.
And their behavior is well deserving of their name.
Yeah, so anyway, right now that is our major fundraiser. We don't know the tally for yesterday's event. We'll find all that out this week, and hopefully we looked at a very successful fundraising event with this year's wine festival. And it always occurs on Memorial Day weekend. On Thursday night we have a patrons party, and on Saturday we have the actual wine festival event. It usually runs from 2 to about 11, and those of us who are on the board or working at the Maritime Museum, we usually get home about 1 or 2. So I seem a little bit off today. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the Wine Fest. Do you think of anything else I should throw back at?
Ask for a question.
Any questions? Does anyone have a favorite wine? Do any of you like wine? So for those of you who like wine or are interested in finding out about wine, it's actually a very good place to go to sample different wines at a very low cost and actually enjoy some music, and if you don't mind the heat. Of course, it's not.
The new guys you're gonna bring in, are they all Texas wines?
Well, our goal is to have only Texas wines presented at the.
And have them bring their own people?
Yeah,
That is so much better than.
Yeah, so it's
fewer
just,
volunteers.
it's just like with the Art Fest, instead of setting up booths and you look for volunteers to man the booths, those artists bring their own ware and they're there presenting.
And they have all the PS to go with it.
Well, you can talk to Pam, we have a little bit of BS when we're pouring wine too.
Not me.
And sometimes you get attacked by the wine bottles. I had a little incident yesterday, and
With the champagne cork.
champagne, I got corked, and another half inch, I'd be in the hospital right now. But I do have a better feeling of how Goliath felt when David beat him with the rod.
Well, I would just add that it really has morphed over the last several years, because Cecil and I have been serving as wine pourers and volunteers and store runners, whatever they needed. And yesterday was just so much fun. People were so exuberant about being there, because in the past, depending on the wine, you either were paying for it with, 1 ticket, 3 tickets, 5 tickets, 12 tickets. And people didn't quite understand the concept when they came. They thought, oh, a ticket and I can get some wine. It's like, oh, no. So as a server, and I know Pam and Phil can understand this too, a lot of times you were explaining to people and they were kind of becoming a little hostile about it, and you're trying to be friendly and all. But they changed it this year, which was for the better. And for each ticket, you got a pour. And then some people would come up and they'd find something they really liked, and they'd say, okay, 8 tickets, just fill my glass. And they were happy with that. And then if they find something they like, they've also instituted a wine store, which you can get really great prices on a bottle of wine. So if somebody, sampled something, they kept coming back to get another sample, I was like, you can go to the wine, it's fine, use up your tickets here, but you can go around to the wine store, and here's the price. And they are very good prices. So a lot of folks, towards the end of the evening, were buying several bottles of wine, and thank you to HEB for letting us have those 6-pack containers. And, listening to the band and then taking wine home with them. So it works out very well. I don't know if it's a good idea to ever get to only Texas wines. I love wine, we love Texas wines, and they're great Texas wines. But there are some good wines from New Zealand and California and Australia and other places too.
That's a good
Yeah,
point.
but there's also the thinking that maybe a few years in the future to have a competition like they have the San Antonio Rodeo or the Houston Rodeo, where awards are being given to the wine. And that, a couple of the wineries have talked to us and that they would be very favorable. Okay, that's it.
And with what Pat was talking about with, a couple of the wines were really high-end wines. If you buy them at the, wine store or HEB, if they carry them, probably be $150 a bottle. But with the discount that we received through Republic Distributing, we were able to, our price was extremely low compared to what retail would be. And so we were able to offer even some like a Silver Oak Cabernet, which Louise, I'm sure you know that one. It's a very high-end wine, and we were selling, glasses at $1 an ounce, $1 a quart. And we burned through all the stock that we had in that. And then the price that we were selling it, we made a very nice profit, and it was less than people would pay retail at other places. So we sold out on that wine and a couple of the high-end wines. So if you are interested in the future in learning about wine, and it's not just the sweet white wines that a lot of people like on hot days, but on really some good high-end wines. If you're ever interested in finding out about those, come to the Texas Maritime Museum Wine Festival.